Welcome to another episode of the HeatStrokes podcast.
I should have yelled too.
Hosted by Brady Kannon, presented by Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Get ready to experience golf as you've never seen and heard it before.
The price is wrong.
Through the lens of Brady's experienced eye as he braves the toughest courses in the West under the scorching Las Vegas heat. Your course reviews, expert PGA analysis, and top weekly golf betting strategies are teed up and ready to fire. Here's your starter, Brady Kannon.
It is deadheatgolf.com, home to the HeatStrokes podcast, presented by Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Welcome in, everybody, to episode number 6. I'm Brady Kannon, along with my special friend and guest, Drew Stoltz. He is a co-host of Gravy and the Sleaze on PGA Tour Radio Channel 92, and also of the Subpar podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at the Sleazy Man. And Drew, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Good to speak with you once again. And you're no stranger to this type of thing. This show was founded on the basis of playing golf in the dead heat of summer here in Las Vegas. You're not too far away in the other desert there in the Phoenix Scottsdale area. So you certainly have the credentials to appear on this show, my friend.
That's right. As you well know, man, you got to have lizard skin. You want to play some golf out here. So I'm trying to cram as much golf as humanly possible in right now while I can get it, because starting about next week, we start to triple digits. And then, as you well know, those do not leave for a long, long time. So I get out there and I'll get after it a little bit when it gets hot like that. But I'd much rather that, I would say, than something in the 40s or the 50s. I'm way too soft to play in that. So I'm okay with the heat, actually.
Yeah, I'm with you. I much prefer the triple digits to the 40s and 50s for sure. And let's take a minute to say hats off to your good friend, Wyndham Clark, who got his first PGA Tour victory at the Wells Fargo Championship last week. And, of course, he used to live here in Las Vegas and now lives near you in the Phoenix Scottsdale area. So another guy with a win under his belt now that is also all too familiar with the triple-digit temperatures.
Yeah, he's another Colorado kid turned into a desert rat. And, man, that was special to watch for me, Brady, because I've known Wyndham since he was a little kid. He and I grew up not too far from one another, started playing golf at a pretty young age. I've been close with him throughout his entire career, college, professional, PGA Tour. I actually hop on the bag for him once a year at Colonial and go out there and do a terrible job of caddying, but we have a great time. And I know I see his game on a week in, week out basis. I know the type of firepower he has. I know the type of talent that he has, and I think the people around here would echo that. But it's cool for the world to see Wyndham Clark now, because on that golf course against that field, I feel like that's the type of place where he really thrives. I mean, you see his speed off the tee. He's in an elite category there, and just the work he's done mentally to kind of get that mind to catch up to his physical talent. I don't want to use the cliche and say the floodgates are going to open, but I'll just say keep your eye on Wyndham Clark, because I spoke to him right after the tournament on Sunday. It was a pretty emotional deal, but you could just feel the weight lifted off his shoulders by getting that first win. He's been waiting on this for a long time, and to do it the way he did, just running away with it. You know, Xander was really the only guy within shouting distance. It was a pretty damn impressive performance by Dub.
Absolutely. And it was all right here on the HeatStrokes podcast last week that our guest picker, Ron Claus, gave out Wyndham Clark at 100-1. So the listeners and viewers, hopefully they jumped on that. But no, I'm with you. I've actually been on him 3 or 4 times in the past six tournaments or so. Of course, I was not when he went on to victory, but he's been on my radar because he has that rare combination of tremendous length off of the tee and a real deft touch around the green. So once again, congratulations to Wyndham Clark, the Oregon Duck and 2017 Pac-12 Player of the Year. This week, for the course that we are going to review, we're going to step outside Las Vegas a little bit and head to Peoria, Arizona for Quintero Golf Club. Matt Youmans and I played here in 2020, and it was literally about 111 degrees that day when we played. But I love this golf course. It's about an hour outside of Scottsdale, Arizona, a Reese Jones design, and has been voted the best public course in America on more than one occasion. You do have some golf villas to speak of on the course, but more so, it is really homeless. There is not a single home on the golf course other than some of the stay-and-play resort villas that they have towards the 15th, 16th hole there at Quintero, but primarily Mother Nature surrounding you at this beautiful desert property. You can tip it out all the way to over 7,200 yards. You can play it much more comfortably at around 6,200 yards. You know, Drew, we have a couple of Reese Jones designs here in Las Vegas, one of which is Rio Seco, and it is maybe my very favorite layout in town because of the designs of the holes and the way Jones has really kept the natural landscape and built the holes into the canyons and the ravines and what have you. And I felt that holds true at Quintero as well. It really makes you think your way around the golf course. He does blend the holes with the natural landscape. And I tell you, you can't fake it around this track. You've got to hit some golf shots at Quintero.
Yeah, it's a really good golf course. You know, I've only been out there one time. It is a little bit of a drive from Scottsdale. And I didn't know much about the place when I first headed out there. I just heard from people that have played it, like, yo, this Quintero, it's really good. You got to go out there. I got out there one time, and I was blown away by how good it was. I remember driving out there. I was thinking, like, where the hell am I going? Where is this place? How can there be a world-class golf course somewhere near where we are right now? And then you get up there, and you're like, wow, this place is awesome. It's really cool, like, kind of unique for the desert a little bit. There's not a ton of golf courses out here with elevation changes, and you get that at Quintero. Like, you got some where you're hitting downhill on some of the par threes. You got, you know, he uses the terrain really, really well, and it's spectacular for public golf, man. It's about as good as you're gonna get.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the par threes, really wonderful par threes at Quintero. You have the 9th hole that sits up high atop the hill and looks down over the green, which is fronted by water. And then in the distance, you can see the 10th hole, the par 5 10th hole going back up the hill. I don't know if this is the signature hole, but I tell you, it certainly is the signature view at Quintero, in my opinion. Drew, when you played there, did you come away and have a favorite hole on this golf course?
Well, yeah, this is going to sound like it's staged, but yeah, it's actually number 9, the par 3 there down the hill. It's really cool. It's one of those holes, like I mentioned, where you get some elevation change. You get the water in front of the green. It's a tough hole. I think I remember playing it like a little over 200 yards, 205 or somewhere in that ballpark. So you got to hit a good shot. It's kind of like an elevated tee on 16 at Kiowa Island. Like, you obviously don't have the ocean out to the right. If you look to the right, you get to see some hills instead of ocean, but it's got that water and it's got that green that kind of works diagonally from left to right. And, you know, picking the right club on that tee can be tough, and you got to just hit a shot there. It's a really good hole, really cool hole. And like you said, probably the best views on property.
Yeah, visually it is stunning. And you're right, certainly a challenging hole as well. My favorite hole is number 15, and it's a relatively short par 4. From the tips, it's about 380 yards. From the silver tees, about 340 yards. A pretty straightforward par 4. You've got some bunkering down the left-hand side, but it's just a great visual off the tee. Just a short carry over some raw desert and all these cactuses. And then in the distance, you have this big mountain that just towers over from behind the green. And I tell you what, after playing 13, 14 holes in the triple digits, I needed what looked like a relatively easy par 4. An elevated green will certainly play some tricks on you, but I really enjoyed this hole just visually, and it was a hole that I felt I had a chance to make a birdie on after a long, tough roll through Quintero. So, Drew, you and I have both played here just on one occasion, but tell me about, you know, the round, the experience. Maybe what was your favorite part altogether about visiting Quintero Golf Club?
I think it was just a surprise, honestly, that I got. I feel like the word is out now. Everyone knows about Quintero. Guys come in on golf trips. Quintero is the place at the top of the list they want to play. I feel like it's there. TPC Scottsdale, obviously, because of the WM Phoenix Open. But I just remember driving out there, and I was like, man, we're driving a long way to play some golf out here, boys. We got 800 golf courses within 10 minutes. You know, this better be a hell of an experience. And I got out there, and it's unique to desert golf. Like, you know, you get the desert aspects of it, but it also feels so different, like I mentioned before, with the up and down, the elevation changes, and things like that. I was just really pleasantly surprised. I was like, man, I had no idea about this place. I'd never played it. And now, once I did, I understand the hype around it. I understand why so many people that come to Scottsdale, like, this is a place they have circled on their list to go play.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll tell you a story. It was kind of funny when I went down there. It was 2020, and I believe it was Memorial Day weekend. So I drive down from Las Vegas, and I pull into the parking lot, and I could see the temperature gauge on my car, and it says 111. And you get out, in the parking lot on the pavement, and I'm like, whoa, it hits me. I'm like, this isn't 102. It's not 108. It's like 112. And this is the real deal. We're playing for keeps today. So we get out there, and I'm starting to get acclimated and get into the swing of things, hitting a few balls on the range. And my playing partner, Matt Youmans, he loves to play in the triple digits, so he is completely unaffected. And then our third guy in our group was Randy McKay, another friend who is a professional bettor and professional gambler and sports bettor from North Dakota. So this type of heat was completely new territory for him. And we get to about the third or fourth hole, and Youmans and I are kind of in a groove, and we're just really enjoying the heck out of this place, how beautiful it is. And we decide, hey, let's do a shot of whiskey. Randy was having none of that. His face was flushed. He was famished. He looked like he had, been through the ringer a few times. He was exhausted, and it was probably better that he stayed away from the shot of whiskey. Drew, you probably remember how long a drive it is from the clubhouse to the golf course at Quintero. Well, Randy had enough. He picked up, got in his golf cart, and drove all the way back to the clubhouse and called it a day. He had enough. And I tell you what, this probably truly is an example of a HeatStrokes podcast moment that day in late May at Quintero in 2020.
If you're from the Northeast, the Midwest, wherever, it can get hot up in those places. But like you just mentioned, the 102, 103, 101, that's fine. I think people can tolerate that. Once you get up into that 110 plus category, and you start feeling that 112, it's different. And for a guy from North Dakota, he's gonna be a little bit out of his element. Interesting decision with the shot of whiskey. The whiskey at 112, maybe not the one I would have gone with there, but let me say he's definitely not the first dude to come out on a golf trip to Arizona in the summer and have to tap out before the end of the 18. It happens.
No, you're right. I've seen it here in Las Vegas. No, I got out of the car that day, and I knew I was going to have to drink a lot of water, and the whiskey was a little bit of a surprise, but I made it through that. But Randy, he couldn't get through the whiskey, let alone 3 or 4 holes. By the way, Quintero, for some information on the golf course, they offer a players card program for local residents. It is a Troon facility, so there may be some benefits if you belong to a Troon golf course. Standard green fees will run about $125 all the way up to about $350, depending on the time of the year. You can find them online at quinterogolf.com or on our website, deadheatgolf.com, is one of our featured courses. You can give them a call at 928-510-1500 and tell them the fellas from the HeatStrokes podcast sent you. We'll take a quick break here and be back with our picks for the AT&T Byron Nelson. But before we do, a word from our sponsors, Play Studios, Vicent Realty, Las Vegas Advisor, and also footballcontest.com. In fact, our friend Anthony Curtis, who runs Las Vegas Advisor, appeared this week in the Wall Street Journal. He was quoted about some business going on at some sports books. And for footballcontest.com, don't forget to use the promo code HEAT at checkout to save $50. Football contest signups are just around the corner here in Las Vegas, so a good time to get on board with footballcontest.com. We'll be right back with more of the HeatStrokes podcast presented by Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino here in Las Vegas in just a moment.
When the HeatStrokes crew isn't burning up the hottest golf courses in the country, playing a game we'd all spend a lifetime trying to master, they're doing something just as smoking, but a whole lot easier. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable, real-world rewards from some amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score rooms, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady and Matt, we know you're going to love it. And that's something you can bet on. Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, tournament play, and of course, sports betting, including 2020 sports betting. Think like a pro, which contains an 85-page section on betting golf. And don't forget to check out LVA's famous Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $400 in gambling, free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com. That's LasVegasAdvisor.com. Attention, all real estate buyers, sellers, and investors. Are you looking for a trustworthy and experienced team to help you navigate the Las Vegas, Southern Nevada market? Look no further than Byron Realty Group, specializing in residential, commercial, and investment properties. With over 9 years of experience in the industry, we have the knowledge and skills to help you find the perfect property or investment opportunity. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, we're committed to providing exceptional service and delivering results. Contact us today to take the first step towards achieving your real estate goals in Las Vegas and Southern Nevada. Call now, 702-339-8052, or go to ByronRealty.com. Have you ever wanted to play in one of the biggest football contests in Las Vegas and win $1 million or more? At footballcontest.com, find out how to sign up and make your picks through Nevada's most experienced proxy service. You do the handicapping, we do the legwork, and our service is a convenience for both locals and non-residents alike. Over the past decade, thousands have trusted footballcontest.com as their proxy service and have collected winnings of over $10 million. Whether you're a fan of 5 picks against the spread or survivor pools, footballcontest.com has all the information you need to get started. You pick the winners, we submit your picks. It's that easy at footballcontest.com.
Welcome back to the HeatStrokes podcast presented by Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Mandalay Bay comes alive as the fan district, the go-to destination for all of fankind. Gather here, stay here, eat here, and celebrate here. Fans get exclusive food and drink specials and one-of-a-kind experiences loaded with giveaways, photo ops, surprise appearances, and more. And the best part? It's all located within walking distance of the stadium. Get the party started or keep the party going at the Fan District. Brady, Kannon, and Drew Stoltz with you here on the HeatStrokes podcast, and it is time to get to our picks for the AT&T Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch in McKinney, Texas, just outside of Dallas. And Drew, this is another big, long golf course, the third week in a row really on tour that the golf course is really catered to the longer hitters. And I think we're going to get that for a fourth week in a row next week when we roll in to Oak Hill for the PGA Championship. But TPC Craig Ranch measures over 7,400 yards. It has been converted to a par 71 this year. The 12th hole converted from a par 5 to a long par 4. And this is the third year in a row that they have held the Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch. It is a Tom Weiskopf design, very wide zoysia grass fairways, big bent grass greens. It's one of the easiest courses on tour that they play over the last 2 seasons. And over the last 2 seasons, it was pretty easy for K.H. Lee, as he is your 2-time defending champion, having won both editions here at TPC Craig Ranch. And supplying our guest picks, by the way, this week, Colt Knost finished 3rd here in 2008 as a part of the Korn Ferry Tour Championship. Now, that was back when it was the nationwide tour. Maybe he gave you some tips this week, Drew. How did you handle the handicap for this tournament and this golf course?
You know, I just went off personal experience. So this is a golf course that I've played when I was down at school at TCU, and it's everything you just said. It's a big, long, wide golf course. The only difference is that the times of year that I played it were more in the winter, so it was kind of burnt out. The ball would run. You'd get some run on the ground. It was windy and it was cold, and so it would play a long way. You get some holes that were downwind, play a little shorter, but the ball wasn't popping off the driver the same way it will be this week. And I remember this place always hosted a second stage of Q School, and I always avoided it, quite honestly, because I wasn't overly long. I was fine, but there was just such a big advantage for the guys. We always used to say, if you can carry the ball, this was, 10 plus years ago, if you can carry the ball 290 in the air, the golf course just opens wide up. You can just fly it over all these fairway bunkers that were set to come into play and things like that. That's why all the long hitters coming out of college would always sign up for TPC Craig Ranch as second stage, like your JB Holmeses, your Gary Woodlands, Jonathan Vegas, those type of guys, man. They just race to sign up for Craig Ranch, and I would race the other direction and try to find I would go play in Houston where it was a little more tree line and a little more about accuracy.
Very good. Well, I tell you, I looked at driving distance and strokes gained off the tee. Of course, I also looked at strokes gained approach and also strokes gained on the par fives. I looked at strokes gained putting on bent grass. That's what the greens are here. Birdies are better gained. The winning score the last 2 years has been 25 and 26 under par, so you're going to have to make some birdies. And then I looked at hole proximity from 175 to 200 yards and 200 yards or better. That's where a lot of the approach shots are going to come from this week. And three of the four par threes are better than 215 yards. So that falls into that approach distance as well. As far as the correlated courses, I looked at Port Royal, where they play the Bermuda Championship, Detroit Golf Club, home to the Rocket Mortgage Classic. TPC Summerlin is very wide with big greens right here in Las Vegas. TPC Scottsdale, another Tom Weiskopf design, right in your neck of the woods, Drew. And then also Vidanta in Mexico, where they just played the Mexico Open 3 weeks ago. And then finally, I also looked at Pebble Beach. Now, small greens at Pebble Beach, but again, big, wide fairways and landing areas. Drew, let's get to our guest picks, and for that, we bring in Colt Knost, your friend and a former PGA Tour player. He is also your co-host on Gravy and the Sleaze and the Subpar podcast. You can also catch him this week and every week as a part of the CBS golf coverage, his new job, and I think he's doing a heck of a job. I really enjoyed his coverage at the WM Phoenix Open, but he is an on-course reporter for the team at CBS Golf and will be on the job again this week at the Byron Nelson. And Colt just has 3 picks this week, Drew. He went all in on Tom Kim to win it outright at 18-1. He went all in on J.J. Spaun to finish top 20 at plus 210. And then his full tournament head-to-head matchup, he's got Tom Kim again at minus 102 over Jason Day. So what do you think of your partner's selections there? Anything jump out at you, Drew?
Well, you mentioned Summerlin as one of the comps on the golf course, right? So that bodes well for Tom Kim. I think this is a great place for Tom Kim. Dallas guy, too, so I got to imagine he's got some experience playing this golf course leading up to the event this week. J.J. Spaun, local guy out here. He's a guy that's running very, very nice right now. A tremendous iron player when he gets going. You saw what he did at TPC San Antonio, when he picked up his first win down there when he gets going. So I like both of those. The Tom Kim over the Jason Day hurts me a little bit because as we get into our picks here, I'm actually pretty bullish on J Day this week. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Well, I'm right there with you with the Australian. We saw him miss the cut last week at the Wells Fargo, a tournament he has won in the past. And I'm on the side of expecting a bounce back over on J Day as well. Let's go ahead and get to your picks, Drew. Fire away, my friend.
All right, here we go. On my outright, speaking of the guy we're just talking about, I'm going Jason Day, 7-1. I really like the way he's playing. He's battled so long, battled with the backs and the injuries and the changing of the swing to try to accommodate for that. It feels like it's all rounded into form. If you just go back a little bit, you can find a stretch of golf there where he was inside the top 10, I think 4 consecutive weeks, or right there, top 15, playing some very good golf. And on this golf course, as you mentioned, it's going to be soft. Guys going to be in a ton of fairways out there. There's virtually no bounce. I just got off the phone with a buddy of mine who's playing this week. He's like, the ball's not bouncing anywhere, and we're expecting rain. To shoot the type of scores that you're going to have to shoot to win this golf tournament, you're going to have to make some putts. I don't care how good you hit it. And when Jason Day gets going with that flat stick, I think he's just about as good as anybody out there. So I really like J Day as my outright winner. Top 10 finish. This doesn't quite fit the narrative like, hey, you got to hit the long ball around TPC Craig Ranch. Matt Kuchar, more of a low ball hitter. It kind of gives me some pause when I heard how soft the golf course was, because Kuch gets a little bit on the ground, I would say more so than a lot of these guys. So he's going to have to feed it between some of these bunkers we're talking about, but he's been playing some very good golf of late as well. Top 25 in his last 3 starts. So I like him to just kind of hang around. Still a great putter, still grinding out good finishes this late in his career. And then my top 20, give me some local flavor again. I'm going Davis Riley. He practices out at Maridoe down there. Dallas guy. going to know this golf course, going to be familiar with the grasses, all that. And, man, he's coming off that win at the Zurich, and he's another guy that I think you could put in that category. Wyndham Clark just did it. I think Wyndham's got a little more firepower possibly than Davis Riley, but, man, what a solid golf game this guy has from tee to green all the way around. I really like him as my top 20 finisher.
Yeah, and Matt Kuchar has had great success in the state of Texas as well. And then you've got your head-to-head matchup. You're on the J.J. Spawn train with Colt. J.J. Spawn at minus 118 over Seamus Power. And, I almost landed on J.J. this week, Drew. You're right. He's been in very good form as of late.
Yeah, he's just a guy. I've played a lot of golf with J.J. from the mini tours to now living in Scottsdale. And, he's one of those guys that when it gets going, it seems to really get going, and he can rattle off some good finishes. He's got enough firepower to win on the PGA Tour, obviously. And Seamus Power, who I like a whole lot throughout the year, just maybe hitting a little bit of the skids here of late. I think he's missed two of his last 4 cuts. So he's still a hell of a player. That's more of me being high on JJ Spawn this week than it is not high on Seamus Power.
And then, of course, first round leader, I mentioned Pebble Beach as a comp course this week. Well, Tom Hoge, a winner just a couple years ago at Pebble Beach. I was actually on him that week at 66-1. That was a nice outright there. Ooh. And we know, Drew, this guy can go super low. It was not Thursday, but it was Saturday at TPC Sawgrass earlier in March when he shot a course record 62.
62, broke the course record. This is a guy, and also fellow TCU Horned Frog, shout out Tom Hoge, playing not in his backyard, but maybe in his next door neighbor's backyard. Tom Hoge is a guy that when he makes birdies in bunches. His iron play is one of the best on the PGA Tour. Doesn't have the pop off the tee that a lot of these guys have, but it doesn't really matter. I think with his iron game and these soft greens, I think he's going to attack whether he's hitting a 7-iron and other guys are hitting 8s. I don't really care. Give me Tom Hoge, and if he gets that putter going, man, he is a guy that's not afraid to shoot low scores. He got 6 rounds of 65 or lower this year, and so when he gets that gas pedal to the floor, he doesn't hit the brakes too often.
All right, let's get to my selections, and I have 6 outrights, I believe it is, 6 outright plays, and of course I also play these for a top 20 finish. I went not to the top of the board, but just shy of it with Tyrrell Hatton at 14-1. He's really been a machine as of late. He's got a 4th at Bay Hill, a 2nd at the Players, was just 19th at Harbor Town, and then 3rd last week in Charlotte, and also finished 6th at one of our correlated courses, another Weiskopf design, TPC Scottsdale, back in February. I'm with you, Drew. I'm on J Day. You got a better number. I got 16-1, and I mentioned he missed the cut last week at the Wells Fargo, but, that was a course that he had won at before and is also, of course, a former PGA Championship winner. I think he is going to bounce back this week. I think that probably didn't sit well with him missing the cut with a major championship on deck here. So I could see J Day bouncing back here this week. He's got a couple of top 10s at TPC Summerlin. He was 5th at TPC Scottsdale earlier this year. Prior to the Masters, he had not finished worse than 19th in 2023. And then, of course, Pebble Beach, one of my correlated courses, he absolutely dominates with 7 top 7 finishes. I am on Seamus Power for an outright, Drew, and you're right. He got off to a really hot start this year, and then he hit the skids a little bit, but I like the way he came back with an 18th place finish last week at the Wells Fargo, and I think he plays well on easy golf courses. We talked about how this is a very gettable, easy golf course. Seamus Power did so on just exactly that and won earlier this year at the Bermuda Championship. He's finished 17th and 9th here at TPC Craig Ranch the past 2 seasons. He's also got a top 10 at Detroit Golf Club and at Pebble. Went down the board a little bit further. Brandon Wu at 65-1, finished runner-up at Pebble this year. Also has a 3rd place and a 2nd place finish at Mexico. Really good form right now, makes a lot of birdies. And to your point about some local flavor, this guy does reside in the Dallas, Texas area, so he should be familiar with the course and the conditions. And then even a little deeper to Eric Cole at 80-1. We saw him nearly get it done, losing in a playoff at the Honda Classic. He finished 5th in Mexico. He was 15th at Pebble. This guy has really been playing some good golf this year. He's good on approach, and you talked about J Day being a good putter. This guy is absolutely one of the best putters in the field as well. And then my triple-digit long bomb on Nate Lashley. He's got an 11th in his career at Mexico, a 5th at Pebble. He won the Rocket Mortgage a few years back in Detroit. He's also got a 17th place finish here at Craig Ranch. He's excellent strokes gained on the par fives and on approach from 175 yards or more. He's also got a 3rd place and a 17th place finish at TPC Scottsdale. So I thought 140-1 was worth a look at a guy who's got some pedigree there. And then as far as my full tournament head-to-heads, Tyrrell Hatton at plus 215. I thought that number was pretty crazy over Scotty Scheffler. We'll see how focused Scotty Scheffler is at an easier event. He seems to do better when the competition is stiff and not so much when you have a lighter field. Matt Kuchar, I'm with you there. I've got him at minus 125 over Adam Scott. Brandon Wu at plus 110 over Aaron Rai. Eric Cole at even money over Sam Stevens. And then back to Nate Lashley here at minus 110 over Robbie Shelton, Drew.
Yeah, I like that Nate Lashley play. He was in really good spot going into last week on the weekend, playing in that final group on Saturday. Just, I don't know if that moment was a little bit too big for him or what, but he's in good form, and I play a lot of golf with him as well around here. You hit the nail on the head. With a, let's call it 7-iron, 6-iron, 5-iron, he is really, really good from that distance, and they're going to have a lot of those this week.
Yeah, I think that could be a good learning experience for him. The 36-hole leader tied for the lead last week at the Wells Fargo, ended up finishing 24th or 27th, I believe it was. But I like him to bounce back as well, and 140 was hard to pass up. All right, let's get to our Pizza Money Play of the Week presented by Dom DeMarco's Pizzeria and Bar here in the Summerlin area in Las Vegas. For the Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money Play of the Week, we are once again, these have been really hot. We're going to go with the 72-hole winning score under 262.5, and that means these guys are going to have to get all the way to 22 under par to win this golf tournament. And Drew, you and I have talked about the weather forecast here. There is supposed to be wind anywhere from maybe 10 to 25 miles an hour. We have thunder showers in the forecast every day, but you talked about it, how this golf course is already soft and I think is only going to get softer. Now, that could make it a little tough on some of the shorter hitters, but you know how it is. Being the type of player you are in your career as a golfer, if these greens are soft, bent grass greens, this is going to be a dart show. And I think these guys can go low. The winning score here, as I mentioned, the past couple of years with KH Lee, 25 and 26 under. And I think the rain is going to kind of outweigh the wind. Wind is typically the most important factor here for golfers. But I think this golf course is going to be so soft and gettable that they'll be able to navigate the wind. And I think they can go low here this week, Drew.
Yeah, I tell you that I don't care if the golf course is 8,200 yards long. If you give these guys soft fairways and soft greens, they're going to eat it up. Now, there is a chance of wind, like you said, but that 10 to 20 mile an hour wind, that's Texas. That's just what you get in Texas. That's not like, oh, it's windy out here. That's just an average day. If it's up to 25, that's a couple clubs plus. That's going to factor in. But if they don't get that, and let's just say it hovers around that 10 to 15 mile an hour range, and they get this rain that they're talking about, you're talking big fairways, Zoysia fairways where the ball sits up, you can hit driver off of them, and then soft greens. I expect these guys to go and get this golf course. I think that's part of the reason why they changed the par 5 to the par 4, just to make the scoring look not quite so aggressive, but I expect low scorings. You're going to have to go out there with the mentality that you're going to have to make a lot of birdies around this place.
Well, we have cashed the Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money Play of the Week 3 out of the last 4 weeks, and basically playing off of this winning score prop. So let's hope that trend continues. That is going to do it for this edition of the HeatStrokes podcast presented by Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino here in Las Vegas. In case you need to revisit everything, the pics and the information, it'll be up shortly at deadheatgolf.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And then later this evening, we'll also have the video version up on YouTube at my YouTube channel at HeatStrokes Podcast. I want to thank our crew, Tom Catlin on video, Jeremiah Crow with Green Roll Media on audio, and Trifco on the creative design. And thank you to our very special guest, Drew Stoltz with PGA Tour Radio and the Subpar Podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at The Sleazy Man. We will be back at this time next week to review another golf course and also preview the second major of the season, the PGA Championship at Oak Hill in Rochester, New York. Stick around for just a moment, everybody, and we'll let you know how you can find and follow us. If you get a chance to play Quintero, I highly recommend it. Enjoy the Byron Nelson this week. Cash some tickets. And Drew, please remind everyone to
stay hot, baby.
You've been dialed into the HeatStrokes podcast with Brady Kannon, presented by Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, and produced in conjunction with Green Roll Media, the world's premier sports betting podcast network.
Subscribing to the show on YouTube is easy. Just search HeatStrokes Podcast. Follow us on social media at Las Vegas Golfer and at HeatStrokes Pod.
If you like what you heard, please follow, like, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify today. Good luck out there sinking birdies at Cash and Tickets. Cash and Tickets. We'll see you next week.